forward it to, okay, looks like Lieutenant Miller's on the line.
Hey there.
Hey.
So apparently these links were wrong. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I sent a message to Mary to see if she can update the website links, and I tried forwarding those, or rather I did forward those website links, the correct ones, around.
Yeah, same. So hopefully we'll get some more people on soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's wait for a few minutes. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and several people just joined.
I think like
Great.
7:08. Is that good for everyone?
I'm sorry?
Like 7:08. Is that good for everyone?
In 1 minute? I mean,
Oh,
yeah, I'll
well,
leave it
that
to you.
just changed. Yeah, and like 2 minutes is good.
All right.
Gordon, is that just for the ABC link, or have you, are the links different for the other committee meetings as well?
I'll double check tonight and make sure the correct links go around.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
So the website's now updated. So for what that's worth.
Hey guys, while you're waiting to get started, we have a new safety ambassador started today, and he's on the call. I wanted to introduce him.
Sorry, can I, let me apologize for the links. I fixed it on ABC and I'll check the others now. I don't know how we got the old ones up there. Sorry.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you
Okay.
for doing
that. Amir?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, so I just wanted to introduce Garibaldi Requena, or Gary, goes by Gary. He's our new safety ambassador. He's taking Jorge's place. Just started today, so he's out in the neighborhood today, and he'll be out there Wednesdays through Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. Walking the beat and talking to folks, checking in with businesses and whatnot. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Great news. Is he on the line? Yeah, Garibaldi. Yeah,
I'm here. How you doing?
Pleased to meet you.
How you doing? I'm here.
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
Look forward to meeting you face to face as well.
Likewise.
Is MPD going to be on tonight?
They are on.
Oh, I see.
So looks like we're gonna hit max capacity. So yeah, we do have a really short agenda. Just an update on settlement agreements, and then an update from MPD 3. So we'll actually start with MPD 3. Lieutenant Curtis Miller, if you would like to give us an update.
Hi. Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll run down the crime for the last 30 days for you guys for the neighborhood. We had 4 robberies. Let's run through them real quick. We had 4 robberies, 14 theft from autos, 19 other thefts, package thefts, bicycle thefts, those types of things. And we had 6 vehicles stolen. The good thing about the robberies, there was 2 of the 4 were closed cases with arrests. One of them on Lanier Place was closed. There was 2 suspects, a female and a male, going around and rather violently robbing people, essentially. They were arrested in the 5th district. So that probably led to a decrease also in the theft from autos and stuff, because we suspected them as the ones going around breaking into cars as well as robbing people. The theft from autos, again, sort of a same story as always, people leaving stuff in their cars visible, that type of stuff. And then the stolen autos, the 6 stolen autos, all 6 of them, I was reading the reports before the meeting this evening. All 6 of them are running left unattended vehicles. Something that we've tried to work with the mostly like DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers. There was one report in there that someone had stated they had left their car running, went to use the bathroom, and it was taken. So I was just speaking to the auto theft detective earlier this evening about some other stuff and some statistics. We have a new detective that was taking that over. And so he was running by some things with me, and stolen autos are just through the roof. I think he told me from year to date, we're at 63, which is insane. It's really high because of COVID and the DoorDash. The biggest contributor to that stat is the food delivery people. So we're working really hard. It's district wide. It's not just your neighborhood, obviously, but that's the biggest really increase in the crime that we have. But like I said, the 2 robberies of the 4 were closed with arrests. So good news there. So does anybody have any questions on any specific crimes?
I'm good here. Fiona, I'm sorry, Commissioner Clem and Commissioner Arani.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
No, Lieutenant Miller, I just wanted to clarify, you said 2 closed robbery cases. You're saying that both of those were from the vehicles, or they were theft?
They were robberies, robbery, force, and violence. Like I said, it was a male and a female lookout that we had going around for quite a while, committing these robberies, and we finally were able to catch them. We had a pretty good lookout. I think we had received some video camera footage off of a couple of them, and then we were able to match them up and finally arrest them. They were not responsible. It was not the same 2 for the closures of both robberies. It was a second arrest made from another robbery of a male suspect. But the 2, the female and the male, they were running around, jumping in cars and going and committing other robberies. So
Thank you for the clarification.
yeah, no problem. I'll stay on the line here at my desk if you guys have any other questions or anything while you guys have your meeting, but I'll be here.
Thanks, Lieutenant Miller.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Does anyone from the community have any questions for the lieutenant? Please use the raise hand function. And what is the dial-in number, Commissioner Arani or Gordon, to call in?
Star 6 to raise your hand, or I'm sorry, star 9 to raise your hand, star 6 to unmute.
Okay. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function as well, and we can help get those addressed. Okay. So seeing that there's no questions, of course, he mentioned that he'll still be here. We'll move to the next item, or items. Those are just brief community updates regarding settlement agreements. Amir, would you like to start with the MAHK, M-A-H-K settlement agreement?
Sure.
Thank you.
So MAHK meetings is opening a proposed establishment at 1806 Vernon Street. And the applicant, along with the applicant's counsel, and the protestants, including ANC 1C, KCA, and some abutting neighbors and a group of other neighbors, quite a few in general, have protested this application, this ABC application, and over the last what feels like about a year, we have made good progress. Well, really, this application has a few twists and turns, but since over the last few months, we've made good progress, and really what felt like we were getting someplace. There were a few documents exchanged over the last couple of weeks, but then suddenly last week, it appears as if the applicant's counsel did not respond to our counter proposal. And that, I think we sent our counter proposal probably now about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we haven't heard back specifically regarding the counter proposal. However, we did hear back from the applicant in general regarding tours for other commissioners. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Ronnie. Okay, so next we're going to go into the next settlement agreement, and that is for AIR, and that is located at 2473 18th Street. This is a restaurant license. They have also continued to go through the process. They first interacted with ANC. There was a hearing on the ABC committee meeting in December, and they did send in a draft settlement agreement to the two protestants, which is the ANC as well as Kalorama Citizens Association. The few things that we have discussed, it seems like, you know, there's definitely movement there. As I mentioned, there was roll call, or the protestants were ANC, us as well as KCA. That happened on Monday at roll call, and then there's mediation on Wednesday. So just so other commissioners are aware, you know, this is the type of process. There is pretty much just updates, and then, you know, we'll be able to come to terms and then present those types of settlement agreements to the full commission. So to me, I think there was definitely good progress on this. I went on a tour yesterday, and the applicant is also interested in offering tours or Zoom tours as well. They owe us information, so essentially an updated settlement agreement from the questions that we have had. And then also, I said that if they needed help scheduling tours and if commissioners were interested to do virtually, I could help with that. But otherwise, the ball is in their court. So that is all. Does anyone, Amir or Fiona, do you have questions about the settlement agreement or AIR?
Thanks, Commissioner Bowles. I do not have questions at this time.
I also don't have questions right now regarding AIR, but I see that there are hands up in the audience.
Yeah, Alan Roth, we did just have community updates. I don't want to be impartial and have one person speak towards an applicant, whereas not have another person speak. So if this is relevant to process, I think that would be appropriate to talk about. Alan, Gordon, do you want to promote Alan? Or could you promote Alan? Sorry.
Thank you. I'll be happy to talk about process. Commissioner Bowles, I sent you an email after last Wednesday night's ANC meeting. And I didn't share that email with anyone else. And I'm not going to share it tonight. But since I didn't receive a response to it until about 3 or 4 hours ago, I'm going to talk about the thrust of it and what your conduct in the last week has caused. And it's basically a process issue. You were less than transparent when you announced at the ANC meeting that you'd be considering, and those were the words you used, you'd be considering 2 settlement agreements tonight. And you've used those words again, settlement agreements. It turned out that you'd already listed on the committee's webpage the mock settlement agreement for tonight's agenda, which was interesting because no such settlement agreement existed, unless you were negotiating something behind our backs, which you had previously done in this case. And I want to remind your fellow commissioners who might be listening tonight, and Commissioner Clem, who's there tonight, that last August, when this protest was voted on by the commission, that vote was 6-1, and you were the one. You couldn't even get a second for an amendment that you proposed. And without even giving any of the 25 or so neighbors who were the direct protestants in this case the courtesy of a heads up, you couldn't even be straightforward enough at the ANC meeting last week to be clear about what you had put on the agenda. You just said 2 settlement agreements. So as it turned out, because I was a bit suspicious about your reference, I went back to the ANC webpage and found that you had listed the mock settlement agreement. And but for the fact that I or somebody else might have gone back to the ANC webpage or happened to be listening to you at that ANC meeting, if we hadn't been listening to the ANC meeting, if any of those other 25 or so protestants hadn't been listening to the ANC meeting, we might not have known what you had planned for tonight. And you know very well what has transpired in the last week. And that might be why we had a very short presentation tonight from Commissioner Irani, just giving us, quote unquote, a status update. Because a lot has gone down in the last week, and you and your process, if you can call it that, has caused a lot to go down in the last week. Now, as Commissioner Irani has noted, for most of the last 6 weeks, the parties were engaged in what we thought were very diligent, very respectful, and good faith negotiations. We exchanged proposals, we exchanged counter proposals, and the progress was slow because the parties began very far apart. But there was definitely progress until last Wednesday night. And we were looking forward to a response from the applicant's attorney, but then you jumped in. And I don't know what it was exactly that you had in mind when you decided to jump in the middle of what was otherwise a very ordinary, very normal back and forth exchange of proposals and counter proposals. And, you know, as I've said to some of my friends and colleagues here on Vernon Street and to Commissioner Irani, you know, I don't believe in coincidences, but mysteriously, immediately after your announcement on Wednesday night and my email to you, I got a call from one of the applicant's attorneys immediately after that, practically the next day. And boy, the tone of that call, the tone of that, what had been a very smooth back and forth negotiation suddenly changed. Now, Commissioner Bowles, I sent you an email at Wednesday night. I didn't hear from you till 3 or 4 hours ago. And then all of a sudden, what we get tonight is a very, very straightforward very simple report from Commissioner Irani about what has transpired over the course of the last few months. But in the meantime, your involvement in this, which has been very unproductive from the start, sounds like it had the effect of pretty much blowing up what had been otherwise a pretty good negotiation. So thank you very much. My suggestion is, Commissioner Bowles, Commissioner Irani is our ANC commissioner. He's our SMD commissioner, and things were going along pretty well until you stuck your nose in this. So please get your nose out of it, and maybe we can get back, perhaps, before this thing is over, to a decent negotiation. If we don't, and if we have to go to a protest hearing, my neighbors and I are prepared to go. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, there is only, looks like there's no other hands that are raised. So, with that, I would like to adjourn.
Right. Okay.
Commissioner Bowles, there is a hand raised.
There is a hand raised, you're right. Yep.
Hi, Nick Rowland with the Recook Neighbors Association. I just want to thank the committee for giving a community update on a settlement agreement they've been negotiating on behalf of the community for over a year now. I want to thank you for being transparent and giving us an update on this. Additionally, I was curious if the ANC has retained a lawyer for this.
No, the ANC has not retained a lawyer.
So Alan Roth is not the ANC's lawyer on this case?
No, Alan Roth is not the ANC's lawyer.
Just making sure. Thank you.
Okay, my hand's back up.
Commissioner Bowles, you've
Yes.
had a couple hands up.
Okay. One second. Okay. Thanks for giving me the power to do this, Gordon. All right, Miss Annika Landrenu.
Close enough. Yes, I'm a resident of 1812 Vernon Street, next door to the property in question. While Alan Roth is not an attorney for the ANC, he has spoken with many of the neighbors that are involved in this discussion, and I 100% support the comments that he made.
Great, thank you. Okay, is anyone else interested in speaking on this matter? Okay, I would like to move that we adjourn.
Commissioner Bowles, there are there's 2 hands raised. Looks like a Miss Carter and a Mr. Comp.
Okay, yeah, let's allow, if you're interested in speaking, please use the raise hand function.
I raised my hand. This is Lee.
Yeah, Lee? Yep,
Yeah,
you're
this is Lee Carter and Andrew Schumann. We also live in the abutting property, and we support what Annika said and what Alan has said. 100%.
Thank you. Okay. T. Allen Comp.
I think I'm now unmuted.
You are, yes.
Thank you. I also raised my hand to fully support what Alan Roth has just said. The way in which this process has been subverted in the last week is truly appalling, not to mention the whole process of the way this building is being pushed through. So I strongly object to any sort of accommodation without adequate representation from the people who live here, like I do, and have for more than 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we are going to allow folks who haven't had a chance to speak to talk first, and then we'll go back around. Thank you.
Yes, this is Marcus Mira. Hello.
Yeah, you're up.
Great. I am an owner across the street from the proposed business at 1811 Vernon Street. And I absolutely object to any settlements being made without consultation to the rest of us. I wholeheartedly and 100% support what Alan has said this evening, and Annika and everyone else involved and concerned. And I would like to be involved more before any possible settlement is reached. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Cassie. Sorry, Cassie, did you get in?
Can you hear me? There's Cassie. I agree with Alan, 100%.
Great. Cassie, can you hear us?
I hear you, but
awesome. Thank you.
Cassie, you agree with Alan 100%, but do you have anything? Do you live on Vernon Street?
yes,
Yes.
in the 1812 Vernon Street.
Thank
Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
Well.
Oh. Okay, Lori. Lori Clark, we have you if you are able to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. This is Lori Clark. I live at 1813 Vernon Street. I'm a member of the committee that is involved in the settlement negotiations, and I 100% agree with Alan Roth and think it's very important that the settlement negotiations continue unabated.
Great, thank you. Okay. And it looks like we only have two others, KJ and followed by Alan Roth. KJ, can you hear us? Hey, KJ, you raised your hand. Are you interested in speaking? Okay, I'll go back to Alan. Give KJ a moment if he wants to speak again. If not, Alan, you're back on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Commissioner, thank you, Gordon. Commissioner Bowles, it's not appropriate for me to address another speaker. So I will address my comments to you. And that is to say, I will make this clear. My role in this and Lori Clark's role in this are as representatives of the 20 plus protestants, other than the ANC, the KCA, and the two residents of the Carswell who are abutting protestants. Having said that, because there was some suggestion by one of the other speakers, or some intimation by one of the other speakers that I have some role other than that. I would suggest that you and that other speaker be very, very careful about what intimations you and he make about anybody else in this process, because there's a relationship there that hasn't been discussed, and I've made a point of not discussing it. And let's just leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roth. KJ, do you still have your hand raised?
I do.
Okay, yeah, if you'd like to speak.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I am the owner of the building that sits at 1807 Florida Avenue, also known as 1806 Vernon Street. They both are the same exact address. I recognize the community's involvement here, hence the 20 some odd plus participants, which normally isn't the case at at a public safety hearing. I've been at a couple. Alan updated or provided some additional updates outside of Amir, all of which seem pretty, for the most part, accurate in terms of what transpired over the course. I think there was some timing that he left out. We've been at this, myself with the community have been at this. I presented this concept to the ANC board, to this ANC commission, which was a whole different commission, absent Amir and Japer, in January 2020. It's now February 2021. In the process, I've amassed thousands and thousands of dollars of legal fees, trying to just follow a process. The one thing that I just want to do today is invite community members, commissioners to tour the facility, ask questions, provide clarity on any clear issues. Sometimes when there's one or two people speaking for a group this large, a lot of people's interests get very, discombobulated. And you can't tell who wants what for what. I do believe that we were making progress. I don't believe that Mr. Bowles or any other commissioner had anything to do with the stalling of that progress. I would love to not go to a hearing, but I recognize that that is a possibility if everybody doesn't come to the table and find a way to coexist. So I am, my attorneys are willing to have continued conversations. And if we aren't able to continue that, then we are headed for a hearing. In reply to Amir's his update that said that we did not reply to, or the attorneys did not reply to that, I believe the phone call that Mr. Roth suggested took place between my attorney and him was the communication that the talks had stalled. So that was the reason for no reply. The reply came via a phone call, from my understanding. So Mr. Alan Roth is the representative for the protestants. He was informed on that call that we were, basically at odds and did not progress, and we'll be heading to a hearing. So I thought that this was a status update and nobody would be able to talk and no questions and no comments. And so, seeing as how everyone else, was making their comments public about support, I support Mr. Roth as well. I will support everybody's concerns as it relates to this matter. And I just welcome and open a tour of the facility, questions with myself, with my attorneys, whomever. I just want this process to be a little more open. And if people have questions, just ask. Let's come by the facility, tour it, look and see what we're building. And I think a lot of the confusion that could or is taking place amongst this commission, amongst the community, could be cleared up. So I would love for you guys to tour with masks, one at a time. It's a 800 square foot. It's an 800 square foot floor plan. It fits 30 people. This idea of 50 and 100 is just untrue. So I would love for the facts to kind of represent themselves, the truth to kind of come out, and not a bunch of innuendo. So please take me up on my offer to visit. I want to address every community concern as best possible through my attorneys. But quite frankly, as a young Black business owner, I'm almost out of money, and I can't. I've spent almost 50 some odd $1,000 on legal fees just to communicate with my neighbors. The people, my neighbors. I have to use an attorney to communicate with my neighbors. I've tried to text my neighbors and invite them over. They said, no, we want to follow the process. I invited them to tours before. No, we want to follow the process. That process cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. I want to be a part of the process. I just don't want to go bankrupt trying to, to play the game of the process. This has been going on for longer than my initial application was in October or November of 2019. Engage me, engage the business. I am your neighbor. I'm a property owner. I'm not a renter. I own the property. I have a stake in everything that the entire of Adams Morgan has to say. I want to listen. I want you to come and visit the property, ask questions, understand how the business may affect anything that goes on. But the more and more we trade all of these contentious, conversations with no one willing to engage directly, how are we to get past? It doesn't cost you guys anything to jump on the Zoom. I have to be represented by an attorney. Lori Clark, my great neighbor, is a Harvard-educated attorney. Alan Roth is a former ANC chair and an attorney that lives on my block. What is my luck here? They're doing this to, as a community concern, but it costs them nothing. But it cost me thousands of dollars to just respond to the many emotions. And it's frustrating, guys, and I want to engage you. I want to listen to your concerns and mitigate as best possible. I'm not just a business owner, I'm a property owner as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, KJ. Okay, so we obviously we're not doing anything with this. This was supposed to be a community update with not a lot of comments, but hey, that's what volunteering for commission is about. Amir, or Commissioner Arani?
Yes, I do want to speak to one thing about my update when I said that there wasn't a reply to the counter proposal. However, the reply that I had received was simply an invitation to the rest of the commission to tour the facility. The reply to the counter proposal was not forthcoming. I did not receive a reply to the counter proposal that was sent on January 25th. It's been about 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks since then, because a phone call had taken place between Alan Roth and, as Mr. Hughes noted in his comment to you, Commissioner Bowles, between his attorney and Alan Roth. That is not a reply to the counter proposal that was sent over email. I never received a phone call or received a written response to that counter proposal that was sent on the 25th. And I think that's significant because I thought that there was progress being made all along. And it was slow and steady progress, including progress on the hours of operation and the summer garden, all the sticking points that there are, the occupancy, smoking outside underneath people's windows, and trash and recycling, all these things that we have been making slow and steady progress on. So I just want to point that out right there. Commissioner Bowles, you have a few other hands up. I don't know if they were caused by that comment, but yeah, that's all I have.
Can I address it immediately? So, Mr.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's
so
fine.
Commissioner Ronnie, in previous
as a point of order,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Point of order,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bowles, please.
Ronnie,
Questions and comments should be directed at the chair.
Okay, got it. I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Bowles, in response to the comments that were just made, in other communications, Mr. Ronnie has appointed Mr. Roth as the spokesperson for the group of protestants, as well as in regards to this particular settlement agreement and negotiations, Mr. Roth was the point person. So therefore, any communication with Mr. Ross should have communicated that to the group. That is my understanding. I'm not a lawyer though. So I would, I'll defer to my attorney to probably, make that clarification. But the phone call between my attorney and Mr. Roth was the communication to the group, because Mr. Roth has been throughout the entire negotiation process, the leader of the negotiations, the point person, the person who we've, exchanged proposals with. So therefore, a conversation happened with him. That conversation should have been relayed to you guys. If it was not, then I believe that is, where the miscommunication was.
Okay, to recognize the phone call with the last three digits is 411.
Hi, it's Dennis James calling in. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can.
Okay, thanks. So I know this is going to seem like a terrible aside, but I don't want your whole meeting to end without my understanding what happened to do with air. I also have something to say about this mock thing, but I was desperately trying to get onto this meeting, and during the time that air must have been being discussed. So was there any action taken about air?
No, there was not any action.
Okay, so to the KJ's speech that he, his long talk just a few moments ago, the main thing that I would like to just point out is that we are on a road, if he continues with his attorneys and all the protestants, to a settlement. And he's acting like that, we're going to have to go to a protest hearing and all those motions. Well, that was before this particular application. The previous application was a different sort of thing. He wanted a new tavern because it was supposedly outside of the boundaries of the moratorium zone. So there were legal briefs exchanged. But, that issue was settled. New placards were put up. We're working within the framework of those dates on that placard. We have a protest date now, That just was issued by the ABC board. So we should continue to discuss all the issues that we've been discussing in exchanging the various settlement agreement proposals back and forth. And I do believe we're making slow but steady progress. So that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, I don't know if there are hands that are previously raised that need to be raised again. I'm going to lower all the hands, and if you would like to speak, please re-raise your hand.
Commissioner Bowles?
Yes. It should.
Go ahead, Alan. You should be able to.
Yeah, there I am. Thank
Okay.
you. Let me try to clarify something. It is true that in the exchange of formal written proposals and counter proposals, the various protestants have authorized me to transmit to KJ's attorney on behalf of all of the protestants a single document on behalf of all of the protestants. All of us together have spent many, many hours working through those proposals and counter proposals. We get on a Zoom call. Amir has represented the ANC. Lori Clark and I have represented the Vernon Street protestants. Lee Farmer and Piper Hendricks are themselves individually the abutting protestants. Dennis represents the KCA. We have developed in the course of time since I think before Christmas, at least 2 counter proposals in response to initially one proposal from KJ's attorney and then another counter proposal in response to our first counter proposal. So there've been at least 4 documents exchanged back and forth. Now, I know and I recognize that KJ may be unhappy about the fact that he'd like to, have these conversations directly with us, and he's, certainly welcome to participate in any conversation he wants to have. And I think, we'd be happy if his attorney wants to have a conversation over Zoom. But these documents are lengthy documents. They're single spaced. They run about 5 or 6 pages long, and they involve legal language. And in case he thinks that somehow or other I'm enjoying myself or any of us are enjoying ourselves, spending all of our free time working this through, I understand that as a business person, he doesn't want to be spending his money paying lawyers to do this, and I wouldn't want to do it if I were in his shoes either. I could be doing a lot of other things that I enjoy a lot more than sitting here doing red lines of documents, single spaced at 1 o'clock in the morning. So this ain't no fun for me either. And I don't think it's any fun for Lori or for Lee or for Piper or for Dennis or for Amir, because we spent hours and hours and hours working through these things on our end. We got better things to do with our time too, even if we're not having to shell out money to do it. Now, having said that, I think as you heard from Dennis and as you've heard from several other people on this call, all of us are prepared to continue in a negotiation process. But to be clear, I don't think that process was advanced. And perhaps this is what Amir meant the other day. I don't think that process was advanced by a phone call, which, by the way, KJ should know, I did relate very promptly to all the other protestants. I don't think that process was advanced by having his attorney respond to our last counter proposal by selecting out 2 items, which he knows or should have known are the 2 most difficult items in this negotiation, and basically laying down an ultimatum and saying my way or the highway. That's not a good faith negotiation. And that was the essence of that phone call. Now, if that's not, in fact, the position that KJ wanted to take, then perhaps there was a miscommunication on that end. But that certainly was the content of that communication. And when I say the negotiation stalled, that's where they stalled.
Great. Okay. Okay. So I would, with all the comments that have been delivered, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Lee, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I don't want to layer on necessarily. I think a lot's been said. So I'm one of the abutters, so I've been engaged in the negotiations, and I think I just want to reiterate what Amir and Dennis and Alan have said, which was that, we have put a lot of time into this, and we were under the impression that we were making progress. We did have a couple issues that I think, they seem like they're a bit of a challenge, but I think that we had been thinking that we would be able to come to some kind of mutual agreement. And I just, want to kind of point that out, that I think that we're still interested in continuing to negotiate, and so that we would hope that we can continue that process. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Okay, and with that, it looks like that is through the roll call. I would like to adjourn. Commissioner Ronnie Clem, do you have any questions? Or would you like to accept a motion?
Thank you, Commissioner Bowles. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowles. And thanks to the community for the input.
Thank you. All right, well, there'll be a PZT meeting at 7 o'clock this time next week.